Good evening and welcome to the December 27th meeting of the Waterboro Board of Selectmen. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My apologies for starting late, my fault, so I'll take the hit on this one. Running a little late tonight, so. There was an executive session at 5:45?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll deal with that later. There's no public hearing tonight. Any announcements from the board? Sensing none. Addition or deletions to the agenda? We have no appointments. Any public comment from the public, the non-public here tonight? Correspondence, treasurer's reports, ecomaine recycling reports, Representative Prescott's newsletter and Senator Woodsome's newsletter are all part of the correspondence that are in the Selectmen's office. Anybody that would like to get a copy of that, please let us know. Reports and staff initiatives. Any Selectmen's reports?
No.
John?
Nothing.
Tim?
Thank you.
Wayne?
Code Office and DEP had a wonderful meeting here 2 weeks ago Friday on erosion control, and very well attended. I think there's over 40 contractors from all over York County and part of Cumberland County even. Very well attended. Other
So
than
that was something that we put on, or the DEP put on?
DEP put it on with Glenn's help. And,
It's yearly.
well, this was a recertification for the ones that have had the certifications for many years, and every so many years you have to be recertified, and these were all the advancement renewals. So we have many contractors that are able to work in town with very little paperwork.
Anything else, John?
No.
I'll swing it over to you, Gary.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report tonight, there's a little bit on it about health insurance, but we'll hold those figures and we'll use that for later in the agenda item here for agenda item 9D in terms of health insurance recommendations and changes to the policy. We're also going to have a fire station addition workshop, obviously open to the public, but it is a workshop for the selectmen to discuss about next steps for any possible fire station addition. And that will be January 17th at 6 o'clock here in Town Hall. Unfortunately, our contracted assessors are leaving us. They informed me 1st of December or just after that they'll no longer be able to provide services here. I've posted a job vacancy notice on MMA, and I'm looking to get an experienced person in here as an employee, not as a contract person or a contracted outfit, a single new employee. Unfortunately, we lost our planning board chairman, Kurt Clausen, and he resigned for some business reasons. His work was taking him in other places. He needed the extra time. We did meet with somebody tonight that has some planning board interest, and we may have a motion later tonight. We do also need some people on the planning board and the economic development committee with boardsmanship experience for either committee. So if you're interested, please contact myself or Sherry Netto or any of the selectmen. And I'm pleased to report that on January 2nd, that's when Waterboro Deputy 2, Waterboro 2 Deputy rather, Kevin Collins will start his Waterboro patrol. I know people have been asking about that. So January 2nd, we will have 2 shifts, 4 or 5 days a week in town here. And we hope to provide more information and more input in terms of how that manpower will be used for traffic enforcement, etc. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Will they stagger so that
Oh, yes.
the 7 days ultimately someone will be on?
They'll at least stagger the shifts. It'll be rare that they'll have details where they'll both be working for, half a day or a day together on details, but that'll be rare.
Okay, but does it stretch, does their shift disbursement stretch across
Over
the
7
7
days.
days?
I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find out.
All right, any questions, comments? Sensing none, let's move into new business. Discuss a vote for appointment to committee. So I'd entertain a motion.
I will move that we appoint Dave Christensen to the Planning Board and the Economic Development Committee.
Gotta have some dates on that, John. Gotta put some dates on it.
Yeah, is there a date or a,
Go to your second board.
it's 3 years on the, is it 3 years on the,
The vacancy would end on 2018 on the planning board, and the economic development would be 2019.
all right, so would you accept that the motion is to appoint to the planning
Dave
board
Christensen,
through
Planning Board to
2018?
2018
All right, and to the EDC
for 2019?
for 29, or through June
Okay,
30th of 2019.
so be it.
Okay, anyone want to second that?
I will.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And I'm going to abstain, I was not here during the
301.
interview process, so we'll move on. Discuss vote the game of chance licenses for the Fraternal Order of Eagles for the sealed tickets portion of their game of chance that they run down there. These, I believe, run out the end of the year. Okay.
No issues there in terms of,
So no fire marshal issue or
I will make a motion that the Eagles be granted the sealed ticket licenses, game of chance licenses.
It's been moved and do I have a second? I'm sorry.
Is second.
It's been moved and seconded to grant approval for the state game of chance licenses for the Fraternal Orders of Eagles for the sealed tickets. Any discussion?
Not direct on this, but it has an effect on it. When you have games of chance comes up, the fire department is asked to go over and check the place out. Also, if you have liquor and a license, the same. So I'm thinking, and I don't know if this needs an action from the board here, or it's just we can ask, talk to Gary about just having one. The fire department need to go one time per year and not have to go for each one. Maybe that should be Gary's decision on that. Gary?
those licenses don't come in at the same time. They're not expiring at the same time either. So, nice idea, but I don't know that.
But even if they came in at different times, if we had something that said that we're not going to, unless there's a special need to, one time a year for the fire department making a visitation is only needed once per year.
Well, I think it's good that, personnel go over there and make sure the exits are free. And I don't know that I would endorse going there once a year, especially in a liquor inspection. Something like this might be an easy pass for somebody who's been there before.
Well, I think certainly I think we can go back in time and look at this, but the selectmen made the decision to, at one point in time, that any and all of these licenses, that we would send the code officer, the fire department, or fire marshal representing the fire department, and also a recommendation from the deputy sheriff so that we could at least determine if there had been any issues that came up or whatnot. And I don't disagree with John. I think certainly if it's the liquor license, that becomes that kind of trumps the game of chance, right? So if you've done if fire marshal's checked it in the last 6 months, and the game of chance comes up, I'm not sure that you'd have to go check it again versus the other way around, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can streamline it a little
So,
bit.
yeah, so if, I mean, if that's a decision, if Gary says, okay, if the chief says, do we need to do this, Gary says, you don't, then we're not gonna find fault. Just because if it's done once a year, then, unless there's a need, then it's just a kind of a waste of time in a way to go out and do
Yeah,
it 3 months.
because the memo that comes from us, which comes from Sherry,
Yep.
goes to the CEO, goes to the fire marshal, and I think there's also one that goes out to the contract deputy, right?
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay,
And then on top of that, you got the health officer going in there from time to time to inspect the
well,
whole
if you're right, if
cooking,
it's,
so,
yeah.
and they're gonna get back to the town and report on that too, so.
So maybe we can just take a look at it and see if we can streamline.
I think some of that's happening now, John. I don't think the deputy goes in there every time. I talk to him or Glenn does, and if there are any issues, he certainly doesn't need to visit there each and every time.
Well, actually, it brought up, I was talking with Mike, and he said, geez, I just did this 3 months ago, and I said, well, talk to the chief, and the chief will talk to the,
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
All those in favor? Opposed? So moved, 4-0. Vote to accept a resignation from the planning board. Probably should have done this before appointing somebody to the planning board, right? Planning board.
So moved with a lot of regrets.
Yeah, so, the resignation is from Kurt, who has spent many years on the planning board, so been moved by Dwayne. I have a second.
yeah, I'll second that with a big thank you for the time he has you
So it's
spent.
been moved and seconded with, certainly with regrets and a big thanks. Any discussion? Tim?
I just wanted to say it's been over 16 years that he's been on the board, and he's just been a great member. I mean, he's an honest, knowledgeable guy that I think has always set an example for the new board members and the board in general, and I can understand why he's leaving, but it's a big loss for us.
Yeah, it's certainly a resource that they will miss. That being said, all those in favor? Opposed? That is done. And again, we regret seeing Kurt leave. Understand that there are times when you have to move on, right? Discuss personnel policy, health insurance.
Give us all some kind of.
Let's have some discussion.
Right.
Here's someplace.
Do you need a hard copy, Dennis?
No.
John, you gonna use a computer, or do you want a hard copy?
I've got it in the computer.
Okay. You have one, Julie? Gentleman here can have one too if you want. Were you here for the public comment period, sir?
No, I was here for the Eagles Club.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
They're all approved, you're certainly welcome to stay.
Well, I gotta have a signed copy until the end of the month, and we're gonna take it up for Augusta.
Okay. They'll be doing that at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
Yep. Great, thank you. I've got about, this is an advanced draft, you can see by the colors in here. Want me to start it off, Dennis?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I've got about 10 things I wanted to take you down through that are changes. Sherry's put a lot of time into this, doing underline and strikeout from the old, or I should say, the existing policy. So underlined text is addition, strikeout obviously is taken out. I would first take you to page 5. Some of this is housekeeping, some of it's, we're gonna spend a fair amount of time to. On the bottom of page 5, that blue text that's struck out, it has to do with police officers. And I thought that we could just take that out since we don't really have any yet, and we just don't need that at this time. And you guys just stop me if you have any other
Well,
questions.
let's hang on just 1 second. I would presume that we have a clause in the contract with the county, should we feel that there is an issue. How do we deal with that?
We just tell them we want a new one. Okay, they make
But
it
there is,
in that contract.
in that contract, that's what we would use.
Yes.
Right. I understand he's not an employee, but,
Yep.
okay, go ahead.
Yep. And the next would be on page 7. The top of page 7, the first full section there, section G. Section 1.1 of the policy states that volunteers are not part of this policy, so for this and one other section, I just kind of took that whole section out because either you put the volunteers back in their entirety in section 1.1, or, and I wasn't about to do that. Other than that, I just took volunteer section out of this and one other place. Next is page 10. Housekeeping, really, section 4.1 down at the bottom of page 10. After July 1st, all payroll will be processed via direct deposit. I think it's time that we can say goodbye to paper checks, and not just for new employees, but for existing employees, everybody's gonna have to do that, so. Gave them plenty of time, July 1st. Next is page 16.
Let me,
Okay,
do we continue to pay on a weekly basis?
yes.
So that would be the next question. Should we
Bi-weekly.
pay twice a month? See, I'm getting the evil look. From the treasurer.
You
All right,
can.
now, forget how you asked that question.
Thank you.
We cut the checks, right? So we're not paying a payroll service or
Right.
anything like that, right?
Yeah. All set with 10 minutes? Page 16, 1-6. Five bullets up toward the top, the first quarter of the page there. You see some other language added that says, or any other verbal abuse. I just kind of strengthened that one bullet there. That was the reason for that. And down at the very bottom of page 16, and just clearing up language there that it should not be, Board of Selectmen per charter. Should be myself. Person in my position, I should say, the town administrator. Page 19, I added marijuana reference. And
Just to go back to that one, Gary.
on 16?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the selectman was involved there when that was put in the beginning, just in case the administrator was involved with something like that. Then it goes to the Board of Selectmen. There's one more step there, so that,
Yeah, unless,
If-
if the complaint is against the administrator, it would have to come to the selectmen.
that's why it's in there.
Want me to have another sentence that says just that?
Yeah, right.
Or just bring the selectmen back in? If a complaint is
Well,
against the town administrator?
I think the only time that we would be approached is if the complaint was against the town administrator. You're the only direct employee that we have. Everybody else works for you, right?
For you.
So I think you just clarify that. And that was not clear back before the charter
Right.
changed.
Okay. I'll put another sentence to that effect.
I don't, because if you put us back where it was, then anybody can bring a complaint to anybody on the board or you or whatnot, and.
Right.
Needs
don't
to
think
go to you
that's-
first unless you're the,
Right.
Your position.
Yep. Good catch. And let's see, 16, page 19. I still don't understand how something can be against federal law and passed handily in the state of Maine, and we're moving forward like federal law doesn't even exist, but I guess that's what we're doing, so. In the middle of page 19, you can see the red text there, I put "and marijuana" in there. In the drug-free language as well in here. And
Is alcohol mentioned any place in here?
No, I think this was really a result over the years of creating non-smoking environments, right?
So it's more to do with smoking than getting intoxicated.
Right. The question that I have is as you drive, if we get, well, the state's gonna have to deal with a number of pieces of this. I would assume anybody that has a DOT license and is subject to random drug testing, or works on safety-sensitive work, which is ultimately driven through the DOT, be it a jet engine mechanic or whatever the case may be, still are managed by those rules. Just because recreational use of marijuana is now allowed in the state of Maine, if somebody has a DOT license and is in a random drug pool, I would presume you'd still don't have a right to just go smoke.
I would think that's gonna be a problem, because I would think that you cannot work with any THC in your veins.
I would think that
Persist
under
for
this
weeks.
personnel policy, that we could, it's gonna cost us some money, but drug testing on any town employee, and we're getting bigger and more equipment, but anybody that runs any of our equipment,
So today, we have a couple of employees that have, do they have Class C licenses?
Well, we only need to start doing that after we get the dump truck.
Okay, so,
And then I'll have to be tested too periodically, because I supervise them.
right, but we can go into it doesn't have to be a single pool, right? We can go into, with another town or.
Oh, there's a vendor out there that
Right,
most
right.
towns go to
Right,
that.
right. So that the pool doesn't get,
you
I mean,
can,
how do you wanna
you can
call
send
it?
them down here to the day field, I believe.
right, so we would do that, right?
We
Our
have to.
employee would be subject to a drug test
And it,
to hold that license.
with the state, a drug test or a drug and alcohol test, and the supervisor or somebody capable has to transport that fella in the morning when the
Right.
phone rings. So you're gonna lose two personnels.
Well, only
Well,
if you think that there's an issue.
If you get into the drug pool, the drug and alcohol is all tied together, I believe, and you, that alcohol will only come up on certain occasions, not every time.
Right.
So you can send him down for his,
You have a comment, sir?
I'm in a drug consortium for my business. I actually have a trucking business also with town of Waterboro. I use, work with a lot of Southern Maine Medical Center. And the way it works is a pre-employment, you have to get down and take a blood test. And then what Joanne does is, every quarter, she picks 10% of her consortium, and then 1% of that 10% gets an alcohol test, a random alcohol test. And that's how she does that. It works well with them. She administers everything. You'd have a administrator, probably would be, the administrator. He's notified who was picked, and then that person has to show up.
And there's a time limit on when they have to
Yes.
show,
Yeah.
or they have to be
Yes.
escorted or whatever.
So are we talking about only drug testing equipment operators and the supervisor?
Anybody that has and it's driven by class, is it Class C
One or two, I think.
or class,
medical card, so to
Right.
speak.
But aside from that, no drug testing for town
no,
employees?
there's no
Well, I think
requirement.
Wayne suggested.
There's no requirement today that there is a drug test for people that operate town equipment, or that are employed by the town. The requirement would come in with the license to be able to operate.
Well, we're getting more and more vehicles.
Right, right.
that have equipment, dump trucks, pickups.
So I think you need to look at, what are other municipalities doing with
Town of Hall is, Town of Buxton would be a good one to check with, because, they got 6 or 7 dump trucks and transfer station like what we've got.
And do they have a standard that says if you're in the highway department, you have to be tested because you can operate any one of these pieces of equipment?
So if we're doing work on a town road and someone wants to chew tobacco, you can chew it out there on the work site, but as soon as you step into a vehicle, in order to be transferred from one work site to another, you gotta spit that tobacco out.
That's right.
Yeah, it should be the
And you
same way
can't
with
smoke
fire
no
truck.
weed in there either.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, but in a way, the chewing tobacco isn't affecting the atmosphere of the truck, so, but, I'm sure they'll work that
Well,
well.
the push was, and I know when we stuck this in here, everything, let's face it, society became, everything was smoke-free, right? We banned smoking on town property and then in the buildings and, so that's where this all started.
Dennis? Shouldn't that also be considered to go into the fire trucks? I know you don't have a specific license, but
Right.
you're driving a big truck that weighs more than the dump truck.
What is the fire department's,
They're exempted
They're exempt.
Everything.
they're exempt from testing?
by law.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
From testing, they
don't
can't
even
be?
need a license.
No,
Yeah,
and that
no.
they can't be sent for a drug test?
Oh, I guess if we had a policy and we forced them to do it, I guess we could do that.
But that's
Well,
what I
it's-
was thinking, if you, I know they don't have to have a class 2 license, but
Right.
Let's poke at that a little bit on the equipment side and
But that's what I'm getting at, out of fairness, how do you test some employees and not others?
That's
Because
what-
that's what you're gonna hear.
Well, I can-
That's
all
why
I
I'm
can-
saying all, and,
all I can tell you,
yeah, and you might,
Tim,
go-
is coming from a business that had 1,200 employees, and there were 350 that had to be in a safety-sensitive pool. You could work, if you were working safety-sensitive work, which was overhaul equipment, or overhaul jet engine parts, you had to be in a drug pool. If you were operating a brand-new piece, you didn't have to be in a drug pool. And that's the requirement. So there are a lot of inconsistency on who has to be tested and who doesn't have to be tested.
that's my only comment is, I think it, fairness wise, to all town employees that are running any type of equipment. I don't care if it's a compactor or down to the dump or a transfer station or
Be interested to see what
backhoe or
other
dump,
towns do.
new dump truck or what, fire truck.
Is it driven by the DOT class license, or is it driven by the town saying
Well, Tim's
you're
point,
operating municipal equipment?
right, the mandatory is the DOT.
Right, but you sound like you wanna go beyond that. And another question is what happens when they test positive?
There's a whole
Are we in
litany
place?
of requirements of,
Rehab,
there has to be a substance abuse professional involved, there's a whole, it's a pretty
Their
complex
job is
process.
hell, but they got to go through all the process.
You
It
find
takes about
most
6 months.
most everybody is now at either 2 or 3 strikes and you're out.
so that's already up.
The first test is, you'll be given a second test, and then after that.
So
Okay? We kill that one?
Yeah, drug and alcohol was before this, so that is in there, we didn't talk about that, but section, it's on page 12, drug and alcohol section.
So that's, it's addressed.
Yeah, I put marijuana in both, for the moment anyway.
Yeah, a smoke-free environment would presume that tobacco, or I guess the real question is that do you want to add the vapor smoking, or what do they call it?
Vaping.
Vaping.
Well, how about on the middle of page 19, smoking, chewing tobacco, or any other use of any form of tobacco or marijuana? I mean, we gotta go to edibles now.
Yeah.
You know, you learn from Colorado, if you have a gummy bear edible in Colorado, you're only supposed to eat the head, because there's several doses in one gummy bear. And what kid is gonna eat part of a gummy bear?
Or just one.
Oh, my God.
The unintended consequences of this are just gonna go on for years.
Well, I mean, you gotta,
Where do you stop?
So let's, you know, the marijuana piece of this, and again, it's played out again tonight on the news. I think Richmond is the next town that's talking about a moratorium or whatever.
That's being overblown.
I mean, we're gonna have to face that music, I guess, at some point.
Yep.
We shouldn't get too convoluted with the personnel policy with that, because I think as long as we address it in a personnel policy, we're not gonna.
you don't want anyone under the influence of
Right.
drugs or alcohol while they're on the job.
That's right.
You know, I mean, there's one thing about, the whole thing about smoking is that you're polluting the environment. But with marijuana and alcohol, well, you may be polluting the environment with marijuana, but if you're chewing this stuff, you're not, and you're chewing tobacco, you're not. However, with the marijuana, you're chewing that, you're under the influence, and we don't want you working under the influence.
Okay.
Right,
So-
next
Yep,
up,
go
set?
on. Yep.
Next, I'll take you to page 21, briefly. With a variety of changes in there that were really per charter, taking selectmen out, putting town administrator in, some other clarity in terms of fire chief versus selectmen, department head. And then at the bottom of 21, there's that second reference to taking out volunteers. Now, I'll take you over to page 23, and there's a mistake there, and the mistake is mine. In the middle of page 23, you'll see that that section 7.2 has been struck through, and that is not supposed to be. I left that out, and Sherry did her job and saw that it wasn't in there, so she struck it all out. But that needs to come back in and remain as is, I think. I mean, that's our due process for an appeal to the selectmen from a termination recommendation from me. And I certainly don't think that you folks wanted to remove that due process. I don't think we should. So that's the only real correction in here, that all that would come back in plain black text
Okay.
and stay as is. Over to page 26. Now, before we do that, let's go to page 25 and that table. What we tried to do with this table, and we put a ton of time into this. The question came up, and I guess I would ask you folks. In the top left corner of this table, along the top columns, the far left column is years of service and vacation weeks that you get. Let's take that first one. Somebody working here less than 5 years gets 2 weeks of vacation. And historically, we've given somebody 80 hours of vacation when they only worked 32 per week. So I guess the question is, should this table be modified to give from 64 to 80 hours per week, depending on whether or not you work 32 or 40? And that same math all the way down there for this column of 32 to 40 hours.
I would say yes. If somebody works 32 hours a week's vacation is 32 hours, correct?
And I think this is something that was held over for when everybody was full-time 5 days a week, and then several years ago, they all went to, or most of them went to 32.
And as a person that comes on, do they accumulate the 2 weeks after 1 year?
After 6 months, they can't use any vacation time the first 6 months.
Okay, so in
we
6
prorate-
months, they can use their 2 weeks after 6 months?
We prorate that. If they started in the middle of the year, they'd get 1 week
Yeah, okay,
after that 6 months.
yeah.
That's based on calendar year, right?
Yes.
So,
Julie?
yeah, I would think you'd put it 32 to 40, I mean, or however you want to count it, 64 to 80 or whatever. That makes sense to me.
The only It's not only. There's a rub to that, and that's not how people have been treated. They've been given 40, correct, Julie?
Yes, you'd have to almost, my recommendation would be grandfather this, and anybody that hired from the implementation of this would go to the 32.
Like a two-tier system.
Well, no, hires after a certain date.
Right.
Yes, essentially 2 tiers.
Right, so you would have to put some qualifier in there that, I mean, how many employees do we now have that were hired that used to work 40 hours and now only work 32?
Originally hired,
Yeah.
2, but all the staff is getting the 32 to 40 hours.
So
Currently.
you'd have to put some,
All the staff's getting 40 hours vacation.
They're all getting 40 now, but only 2 are the original ones.
Sharon and who else?
Well, Nancy J's 40 hours, so it's 1, Sharon.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I was thinking Nancy Johnson, and
Okay.
she's 40 hours.
So, yeah,
we need to sort
put
that
down to
out.
1.
Need to sort that out, I guess, and how it's, because if somebody gets hired today, they get hired for 32 hours, then the expectation would be it's a 32-hour week vacation, I think.
Yeah. They had 64 hours for a year.
The real question, I think we'll have that as we continue to budget, is, do we, and I can't say that there's a lot of drum beating out there, but there is some people that are suggesting that we go back, to a 5-day, have the town office open 5 days a week, but I guess we can have that discussion during the budget process.
Other than that, I think the table's fairly self-explanatory. We went to the 42.5 and the 45 hours for emergency service, personnel scheduling. We have a 20 and a 25-hour part-time person now, so that's why those columns are in there. And then if numbers should change, we would just prorate and divide by 32 and not 40. So that's it there. Unless you have questions, page 26 and 27, we may take some time on here. There's a new section on the bottom of page 26, onto the top of page 27. That was Matt and my attempt to clear up the, I guess the confusion, if you will, the lack of clarity with the full-time captains that work rotating shifts in the fire department. And a couple things in here, and we've never stated in here, I don't remember anyway, that they paid non-emergency personnel time and a half for working a holiday. And Julie, I don't remember that we've done that.
Not for their fire department, they've just started with this 10 hours.
Say Public Works, though. I mean,
Yes, Public Works they did.
if it's not over 40.
If it's not over 40, no.
So if somebody worked on a holiday and it wasn't over 40, they've been getting straight time. So there's a change to the bottom of page 26 in the bottom section of 8.1 that said, if an employee works on a holiday, the employee has the choice of being paid time and a half or taking a floating holiday at straight time. Obviously, in addition to being paid for that day. So that's a change. And then over in 8.2A to the top of page 27, Matt's suggestion toward the middle of that largest red paragraph there, the third sentence in that paragraph. Employees who work on a holiday have the choice of being paid double time for the holiday or being paid straight time plus having an additional floater if the holiday follows on a normally scheduled shift, which essentially is straight time plus a floater.
Do you pay time and a half after 8?
They're on the Garcia, which is what, 42
42 and a half.
42 and a half.
So it's not after 8, it's after 42.
That's right. Nothing's after 8.
Fire department's after 53.
Right. But
Why I
it's
say
after the,
Some-
it's not after 8 hours a day or
No,
an
sir.
8-hour shift.
Right.
These floaters are just intensely confusing to try and take all the other information here back over in the middle of page 26 and apply it to emergency services. So we just put in a whole new section here.
Well, you shouldn't have to invent anything. There's all kinds of departments and towns doing this kind of stuff, right? So I would think the language would be pretty standard from,
Well, most of your bigger departments, this is all union negotiating.
yeah, but I mean, the language might be there. You might want to utilize the language and not the numbers, but
So the floating holidays must be used prior to June 30th, so there's no buyout for that.
That's for everybody.
so we don't have to accrue that, or we
Not
don't
the
have
floaters,
to, we
no.
don't have to bookkeep that or anything else.
Yes.
Either done or not.
Clear as mud. Any questions on
Yeah, well, it's always gonna be clear as mud on that stuff,
the new section?
okay?
I wrote something down here, and I can't find it, but, and I have it on page 27, but, and I have to reward good health and good attendance, that you be able to use the sick days for personal days for sick days?
Sick days for personal time.
Yeah.
That's toward the bottom half of page 27.
And what, so how do you define good health and good attendance? Does that mean if you have a person that has how many days? I mean, if a person's used up all their health time except for 2 days, can they take that 2 days for? So you
Is
know,
that considered good health?
yeah, is that considered good health and good attendance? So the definition of good health and good attendance could be problematic.
Well, we could put a minimum. Sharon has over 400 hours of sick time.
Yeah.
She's a great employee. She doesn't call out sick when she can.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I guess the question I'd have is, if a person came into you and said, you know, I want to take a couple days off here and I've got good health, and I haven't taken any health days this year. And another person says the same thing, and I've only taken 3 health days this year. Where do you make the cutoff and say this person is, has not used them and this person has used them? So how do you make that decision?
We use that kind of system in Maine Med. You're required to keep a minimum because something unexpected might happen. I mean, you can't go down to 0. But our holiday time and our sick time is lumped in together.
Oh, I think that's a great way to go. Just put it all in one bucket.
Yeah, it's
You know?
called PTO, it's paid time off, and that's your incentive
Yeah.
to come into
And I will
work.
tell you that Pratt does that, and it's X amount of days per employee, and if you don't use it, you get paid.
And you have to keep a minimum too. You can't go down to 0.
Yeah.
You get paid at the end of the year, cash, if you didn't use it.
Yep.
So,
I'll do that if you want, but I thought that was tackling a bit more than,
What happens, like in my case, when I had open heart surgery, I wouldn't have used all my sick time.
so you can't have sick time ever again.
I don't get sick, or I get stepped on by an animal.
but what's your point though?
Well, I just was saying that, you know, that he wasn't gonna get any, but I will also state that prior, there was an employee who used all of her vacation time and abused her sick time to take off more time, personal time for vacation, and that was why I will defend Nancy B. stopped it.
But if
Yeah,
she was
but
required to...
There's all kinds of folks that, you know, earn and burn and all of that kind of stuff, so I think you have to reward people for,
For being here
I'm not
as well.
suggesting that we change any, I think you got, what we have is what we have. If you want to give some flexibility, but to John's point, there has to be some determination. What's good health? I mean, if I get 16 days and I've used 15 and I go, oh, I'd like to use the 16th day for a personal day, my guess is you'd say, well,
What would you pick for a benchmark? Do you have a thought?
For a minimum?
Yeah.
I
You
see
can
a
only
week.
do this if you have X number of hours.
Right.
Exactly. You need to keep a minimum of a week because anything could come up.
right.
And
I had over 600 hours when I went in for that operation last summer, and I came out with better than half of that still on the books. So that was 10 years of
So a
employment.
lot of people look at it as, hey, I need
Security.
that time
Yeah.
and security. A lot of people go, They give it to me, I'm using it, right?
I feel
mean,
tickled
that's
to death
happens
that
in
I
every-
cured what I got,
every
instead of what I've been
industry,
through.
every, you know.
I've seen some employees with the state, they'll go to the computer and see if they get 8 hours on the box.
Right.
So
They
They,
used to do
they aren't gonna come in
They're not there the
tomorrow.
next
Right.
day.
No.
Well, I'll put a 40-hour ticker in there for the next
Right.
person. Okay. 27, but the concept, that's where I was going, the
The
concept.
concept's
Yeah,
fine.
the concept is great. It's just using it at that time where, how are you gonna use that?
All
How are
right,
you gonna define it?
page 28, this is where we're gonna be here for another 3 hours.
No, we're not gonna be.
Tonight,
The first thing in that section 8.4, do you want to keep a cap? Right now, the cap is, I call it arbitrary at $9,000, which has always been enough, for the most part, until 2 years ago with health insurance, to cover both a single health insurance premium plus your dental. That's no longer the case. When we changed our health plans, everybody went to the high deductible plan because it resulted in nothing taking out of their paycheck for both health and dental for themselves. Those days are coming to an end real fast. I have several questions here. And first of all, the $9,000 limit. Secondly,
Let's go why it was 9.
okay,
We had a discussion back then of, do we go to a percentage? Do we go to
80-20 for everybody?
80-20 or 90-10 or whatever the number was, right?
Mhm.
And every year that number was going up. So we pegged the number at $9,000 because that gave us a couple of years of buffer the way that things were going up.
Mhm.
And that, you know, we drove a stake in the ground and said, okay, it doesn't get into, we're not doing percentages anymore, it's $9,000, right? So that's where the stake went in the ground. Does that make any sense anymore? I'm not sure. Is a percentage, does it make more sense to go back to a percentage? Does it, you know, I know we're in this high end.
tough budgeting with a percentage.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we, just kind of freeze on that one and give this some thought for a week?
Yeah, I think we're not gonna solve this.
No, we're not gonna solve this.
No, but, everybody take this home and give it some thought. Kind of look at your own health and policy that you've got where you work,
and
and I
that's
have,
fine, but go down to the next sentence here, the fourth line down. Starts in red text, continuous part-time employees. This is a change. Our existing policy needs some clarification. Either we cover continuous part-time employees prorated for this benefit, or we specifically exclude them, because right now, the way our policy reads, they're included with not very descriptive language.
I think most of, at least from a small business provider, there's a typical 30-hour limit. It says anything over, in fact, I think, what is the Affordable Care Act was over 32 hours or 30?
I think it's 32.
Right. So I think you gotta put a stake in the ground that says, if it's under that, there are no benefits. And I'm just talking here, and I think we're gonna have to spread this out and look at the cost associated with all of this. But if you're, and to some extent, those employees could go to the exchange and get insurance with some benefit, right? They could buy insurance off in the exchange and get a rebate, depending on what their family situation is, how many in the family, and all those kind of things. I don't know who knows how long that's gonna last here now that things have changed, but somehow you gotta look at where where's the break point where the municipality says we are gonna be in the, one of our benefits is health insurance? And are we all in, are we all out, or?
And we need to pick that line in the sand, because right now our policy just says part-time employees will accrue based on a prorated basis. And we don't have any minimum number of
On a
hours.
prorated basis, they couldn't begin to even buy the health insurance at that rate.
Well, then you take it to the next section, you know, we pay $600 per month for every employee that does not have health insurance. And if you use the existing language in the policy now, then you would prorate that 600 for people that don't have health insurance. And, you know, we haven't been doing that. So that needs some clarity as well.
Are there many people affected by that?
Well, how many people get that?
3,
3.
full-time. They're all over 40 hours.
So let's, you know, I think Dwayne is right. We need to kind of think about this, but I think it's time that we set and have a workshop, and if we gotta bring somebody in from MMA or whomever, some agent, that, the problem is that we all, none of us talk this language, right? I mean, we don't.
I was gonna say, we might watch it in the paycheck.
Right. So I think you need an
Give it
expert
to
to come.
I mean, the thing that we're looking at now, I think, I feel ethically, you have a person with a family, and this is their way, their only way to ensure their family. We wanna, I believe, we wanna help that person. We care about their health and their family's health, and we wanna do what we can there. On the other hand, if you start playing games with people saying, he's or she's getting this amount of money paid for her family health care, I'm not getting it, and I'm doing the same job, and you're paying this person more than you're paying me. You start playing those games, and then now the ethical part of it takes a step away. You take a step away from that, and you say, okay, if people want to press that issue, but that's more of a, that tends to be more of a issue that is brought up by unions and stuff. But I think, you know, I like to be able to provide our people who are responsible for giving their family health insurance, I'd like to be able to help them out as much as we can. And I'm not sure that I feel the same way about part-time people. So as you brought up, 30 hours and above, we look at full-time, and 30 hours and below, you get your own insurance.
There's a number of towns, quite a number of towns, that do 80-20 for anything. And that brings up your argument of fairness and total dollars to every town. Was South Poland an 80-20 city? No? My suggestion is to meet people halfway.
So did South Poland pay 100% of your health care?
For single and for family, it's only $68 a week.
Yeah. See, I think the other thing that comes into play, and I'm going back to, only because I was involved in the financial piece of it with ecomaine, is, you know, they're in negotiations actually for most of it. But the fact of the matter is that they pay the health insurance, but they determine, or they reserve the right to determine what the health insurance is, right? I mean, now that's all part and parcel of a negotiation, but that's when they went to the, you know, the high deductible and the health plan, you know, the reserves and all that stuff, and we've kind of followed a little bit of suit there. So I think you gotta sort all of that out and say what's in the best, because I think what we need to look at is that, I mean, we have an obligation to provide benefits to our employees. I think those should be certainly as attractive as possible. I don't think they should be exorbitant by any means, but I think that they should be reasonable and customary for people that work in this business. Because I think that's what we try to look at everything at, you know, people's salaries. You know, I mean, we look at MMA every year and look at salaries, and that's quote-unquote reasonable and customary across the breadth of municipalities within the state. And I think you gotta look at this the same way.
Well, how would you folks feel, or be thinking, I should say, about going to one plan? I think we can give a bigger bang to the buck and the bottom line in the checkbooks and wallets of our employees if we go with that high deductible plan. And then if we know nobody else is going to be in the other costlier plans, then we can structure our language in here that fits just that one.
I would think that we would say, this is the plan. Right?
How many options did you have in South Portland?
3.
Do you know if, we aren't mandated to do 3.
I thought we were, but I can find out for
We'll have
sure
to check
and
on
let
that.
you know.
Yeah.
The survey for the other towns is available, but we won't get ours because ours wasn't submitted in time.
Yeah.
Because I called and asked for it.
Yeah.
And right now, for your information, everybody is in the higher deductible plan.
So we don't have anybody outside of that plan, basically.
Only the ones that are paying, we're paying back, and I told you
Okay.
wrong, there's 4.
And that would be the other question, is what is it worth something to the municipality for somebody not to be involved?
When we workshop this again, we'll bring in the price sheet and show it to them. They can see the differences there. And an 80-20 for everybody is more costly to the town than a 50-50 split of the increased cost for family coverage. We have 3 people with family coverage now, we might have 5 or 6 if we did that 50-50 split. You need to know that it's about a $5,000 per person cost to the town. Because if I put my wife on there, anybody puts their spouse on there, she does that, it's 10 grand to add somebody. So we're meeting people halfway, and I think that's fair.
You know, I was also just thinking there that 50-50 split could be from the year before. Therefore, they'd be able to budget for it. So you don't have to, if the insurance companies come up with their new rates in February or March and kind of mess up your budgeting process, you can say, okay, we'll take it from the year before. So if the insurance company goes up by 15%, then you're going to be 15% behind the 50-50.
That's detailed, we can work
So
that
we're gonna
out.
have to, that's gonna be something other than,
So think about that, your 30-hour cutoff, what you want to do there, and going to one plan. And if you have a 30-hour cutoff, then that answers the question about whether or not you provide part of a $600 reimbursement to someone who does not have health insurance. And then whether or not you like the 80-20 offer or 50% meeting people halfway.
what else you got in here that's significant?
28, that is it for my
The
question.
retirement thing, I think we all worked over anyway when we went to the main first, right?
Yep.
And this, I'm assuming you just aligned this with that?
Yes, yeah. Did you folks have anything that, red marks that you wanted to inquire about? Julie, did you have anything to bring up?
This is the first time I've seen this, so I apologize, I can't give you anything.
Yep.
Okay,
I just wanted to back up a little bit on the
Yep.
sick time. If you plan to do that, you need to set aside the accrued sick time that you already have. If someone has 200 hours of sick time, you freeze that. They can use that for sick time, but that doesn't mean they have 200 hours of vacation time.
right.
And that could be an unpopular move, but what else are you going to do?
Well, I think we address accumulated sick time when someone departs, right?
Get paid for up to
We only
30 days.
compensate them for X amount. All right? So more to come on this one.
And we don't have another January date for workshop, so,
Well, we need to bring this to some level of closure fairly quickly as you start to put this budget
well,
thing together.
let's put it back on the agenda then. And we just target these things one by one.
All right. Item E, discuss alternatives for residential yard cleanups.
Yeah, I handed that to each one of you. Says nuisance land use violation on the top of it. I think you each had one in front of you. Got one, Wayne?
You got one of these? You got one of these? Oh, I get it.
Glenn and I talked about doing something different and just not going to court and hiring attorneys for trashed yards. And he came up with this, it's a starter. We also talked toward the bottom about what would be the guidelines so that not everybody would get a free dumpster, if you will, if their yard is a mess. And he used the guidelines for poverty down at the, next to the last column there. So essentially a good portion of the dumpster cost would come back to the homeowner if he or she performed and cleaned up the property quickly. Situation down there near waterways, my goodness, this would have worked perfectly there because it was just a junky yard. They refused to clean it up and we're going to court now and we're over $3,000 in lawyer fees.
So would you present this to the landowner as an option?
Absolutely.
We're either gonna take you to court, or we'll offer this alternative.
Right, and in here somewhere he says this would only be for somebody who gets a notice of violation
Right.
for, a problem property.
You still have the option to go in court if this doesn't work
Right.
out, so what do you have to lose?
Right.
They
Other
can save
than,
us a lot
other than
more.
you might haul a dumpster there that's gonna cost you $100, $120 for Dean to drop the dumpster and.
Big one's $475 with rental and disposal
That's
costs.
rental, but I mean, we could put a couple of we could use one of our open tops if we had to.
Okay.
Even though I'm sure Clint would say we don't have any, but we continue to buy them, so.
I like this. I like it for the reason that it is an out from going to court possibly. And then if you do go to court, it's another thing that the town can show that they've done to aid and help this person clean up their property. So I think the court may look positively about that. So I think it's good. And
I would
it's
say.
not going to cost us a
I would
lot of
say
money.
that between you and Glenn, you should, maybe clean this up a little bit and.
Do you think 8 days is too short? Okay.
Not with the landowners picking the 8 days within the month.
Yeah.
If somebody's working 7 days a week, you gotta kind of work with them. So,
Okay.
It doesn't
if you
take
want it
long
cleaned up, it don't take long to
fill a dumpster.
fill a dumpster.
Oh.
Right.
If you want to do it.
All right, discuss dedication ideas for annual town report. Who did we lose this year, I guess?
Does he need to be deceased?
No.
No.
In last week's budget saver was the ones that went over to Alfred, whole list
Oh,
of,
Autumn, that's right, I remember seeing
there was several there, but,
that wouldn't have anybody other than, that
Other
might have
than-
gone to Heald or
Right.
Black or.
Yeah.
Well, we would have that
should have it right
here,
in the
right?
town office.
Steve
so
should
that
have that.
Yes?
Maybe she can get us a list so that we can go down through and
Right,
see.
I mean, I
who's-
think the last few years, we've had someone that's been deceased and someone that's still alive, right? I mean, well, a few years ago, we did Diane, Doug, and who else?
Powers.
Jim,
Rose.
I was gonna ask
Was
if he had
Roland-
been done. Morgan was done posthumously, I think.
So you want calendar 2016? That's,
Yeah.
all right.
Anybody else can think of then? So we kind of bring those back.
Yep.
Discuss possible vote on hazardous mitigation plan. This is the counties.
Yes. We require that. There's a signature page in here from the Selectmen. You had some of that document, we weren't gonna waste all the trees that would be necessary to give you the entire document. We gave you kind of the executive summary.
So what is Matt's position? Yes, does he,
He thinks it's fine as written. And you should sign it.
and that's his recommendation as our EMA director?
Yep.
So what's everybody's opinion here? Do you want to go through this line by line, or do you want to approve it?
I looked through it, I recommend approving it.
So is that a motion?
It's a motion. I make a motion to approve York County's hazard mitigation plan for 2015.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I will say that it's nothing but a piece of paper.
Yeah.
If something really happened, they ain't ever gonna know what to do.
Let's talk quickly about, not anything that we're gonna solve here tonight, but accessory. Or accessor.
Here's the ad that's on the MMA, and you can find it there. Up until I take it down, the position is open until I take the ad down, that's the way I wrote it. And I've got 3 people that are inquiring about information. I'm not sure we'll get applications from all of them. I haven't received any yet, it's still early for the holiday. But certainly after taking the consensus opinion from you folks last time around, we're gonna go with an employee here. And 32 or 40 hours a week works for me. One person likes that flexibility. Would like to work 32, but would like to make the same money they make now where they work 40. So,
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'd like to do that at some point.
right, we'll see what comes in here. Yes. I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Okay. Old business, we have none. Oh, no, I'm sorry, yeah, we have none. Other discuss vote to approve the minutes of December 13th, regular meeting.
So moved.
Move, do I have a second?
Second,
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of December 13th. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Pending decisions, we've got on there, week's action list, we're gonna work the insurance piece of this thing, right?
Yep.
There's a couple of things that we need to do.
Yep, I'll clean up that personnel policy, make the changes there, and get it back to you.
Agenda items for next week, or next meeting, which is now the 10th, right?
Yeah, I have a rather detailed abatement and supplemental that I actually got late last week, but I wasn't here. And Bob and Alex have done a pretty good job of lining this stuff out. It was a split that was, I guess, missed by Jerry, and they've got the details worked out in terms of who gets the abatement, who gets the supplemental, and it's pretty cut and dry, but I didn't want to put that on you tonight.
Yeah, I
Haven't
saw,
had a
I
chance to look
think
at it.
Alex included that in this, or maybe he just sent it.
Did he
to
send
you.
that to the whole board?
I don't know, I know I read it.
Maybe it was just you.
I read part of it.
Okay, good, you did.
I don't know that I ever finished it, but I did
Yeah.
pull it up and read part of
It made sense to me.
Anything that's someone, anybody, anything you want on the agenda.
Then I will put personnel policy back on there then.
Okay. How is the, I know that I sent you a quick little note, the planning board canceled another meeting, and it was it because of a lack of a quorum?
Yes.
or
Yeah.
Is it, that was holiday driven, or
She only heard back from 2 people.
this is like the second time, right? Second one in a row?
I don't know. I didn't think the one before that.
21st was canceled, I just
I've
said.
seen David shaking his head. They were,
We had the first one.
Okay.
They were lacking a quorum on this one.
All right.
It
So-
looked like they might lack it, that's what they canceled, they were proactive about it. because they hadn't heard back from everyone.
It was pretty close to Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, right in the middle of,
We always would,
yeah, they probably would have been
Back
better off to
in Sharon in my day.
adjust them, yeah.
we always canceled that meeting before Christmas. We had one meeting in December.
Okay, so nothing jumping here. Dave, you're gonna run the credits, right? Don't see anything jumping out here.
If there-
Just a reminder that the town offices will be closing 1 o'clock this Friday, and they will not be open until the 2nd. So everybody put that into your planning. With that all being said, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing, Dennis.
Okay.
If there is some elderly out there with all this ice that we've had,
Yep.
get a hold of Sherry, and I will see to it that somebody's got a bucket of sand.
Okay.
If we've got some elderly that can't get out of their houses and whatnot, and the walkways need to be tended to, don't hesitate.
How about putting that up on the website? Somebody might see it, an elderly person may not, but somebody that is thinking of a,
Don't expect me to jump instantly, because there's a lot
Hard
of
to get up my
walk
driveway.
overnight.
In coming to work today, Northeast Medical was in a snowbank trying to get out of somebody's driveway, and we've sent the town truck out for people that have regular medical needs to sand and salt their driveway.
And we do have that capabilities of, in a case of emergency, of sending
Right.
our town trucks. We now have one of our own, so we can do that too, but
This-
either way, don't hesitate to call the town office and talk to Sherry, and we will see that something, or talk to Gary, and we'll see that something is done.
Yep.
in the, just brace yourself for this coming week, Thursday through Friday, they're saying
Oh, yeah, snow.
plowable
Rain.
snow, and buku snow in the mountains, right? All right, so I have a motion to adjourn. I thought I had a second from that into the table. All those in favor? Opposed? How about 7?